Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mimi, for those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who have been here before, welcome back. It's nice to see you. Can anyone just type in the chat just to let me know that you can see me and hear me okay? That would be great. So yeah, just to start off, this is a photography workshop. We will be speaking about lighting today. So all questions related to recruitment or trial job. Oh, it says the event has started, but the screen is black. Loud and clear. Okay, hopefully you guys can still see me. Is the screen black or can you see me? Hopefully you can see me. All good. Okay. I hope that was just one person then. Can hear you, okay, audio and picture all okay, sorry. Right, so cool, that's great. So yeah, so today we're going to be talking about lighting. It is strictly a photography workshop, so anything to do with recruitment or trial jobs. Yeah, please refrain from asking those types of questions because I won't be able to answer those for you, unfortunately. But if you email recruitment@focalagent.com, or you know, if you have submitted a trial or have any questions and have sent an application through, then I promise somebody will get in touch. We are dealing with a very high number of queries at the moment, so so yeah, somebody will get in touch with you at some point to let you know. Yeah, so okay, cool. So the second thing I'd like to ask is for those, we have quite a few of you on here today. So if you ask a question and it has been answered, or somebody else has asked a really similar question and it has been answered, can I please just ask that you delete your question from the comments? That way I can get through as many as possible. That would be great. Thank you. Okay, so I hope you all have a coffee or tea. I am going to share my presentation with you. If it loads, just give me a second. Okay, cool. So hopefully you can all see this. Okay, great. So welcome. Today's virtual workshop is on lighting. I could not include a workshop on lighting without being really geeky about it. The word photography literally means drawing with light. It was coined by a British scientist in 1839 from the Greek words phos, and that means light, and graphe, meaning drawing or writing. So interesting little fact. I'm sure most of you knew that, but for those who didn't know, there you go. Right, so lots to talk about today. For those of you who have been in my other sessions, you're going to see a lot of you know, pieces of the puzzle come together today. So I hope it all makes sense for you. Lighting is a huge topic. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it today. First and foremost, we use a flash gun. So there's two types of lighting techniques in property photography. One is just the flash technique, and one is the HDR technique. We do not use HDR, we use the flash gun technique. So what that means is, if you don't already know, it's an external flash gun that attaches to your camera, also known as a speed light, and that's what we use for our lighting. The HDR technique we refrain from for just one reason. Well, two actually, sorry, but one main reason is for timing purposes. So just in regards to time and the amount of time it takes. HDR tends to take a lot more time, and it also requires you to edit. And we specifically request that you do not edit. Of course, we're not going to refrain from editing if you absolutely want to do that. However, it's not a requirement for working with us. We have a complete amazing post-production team who do wonders. So essentially what would happen is if you are editing and they are editing, then it would just be really, really inefficient for everyone involved. No matter how quick you are with editing, it is really time consuming. So we want you to save your time and not edit. And unfortunately, the HDR technique requires editing, so we don't want you to do that. So that's the main reason. I hope that made sense. So timing and no editing. That's why we use Flash. The second main point is, and I get this question a lot, and I've gotten it a lot over the past couple weeks as we've done these workshops, whether you should open curtains or open blinds or what have you. The main takeaway for sort of the light is we want, even in, you know, dark spaces, dark small spaces, we want the property to look light, bright, airy, spacious. You know, so we want to be using as much natural light as possible. So the Flash, and I'll be repeating myself a little bit for those who have been in the Flash workshop, but for our Flash, you know, that is meant to be a secondary source of light, and the primary source of light is actually the natural light. So, you know, the natural light basically that would be coming in from the windows is what you really want to utilize as much as possible. So obviously we ask you not to touch anything while you're at the property. It is not your responsibility to, you know, move or touch anything. However, if there is a curtain closed, you know, please do ask the vendor to open it. Most of the time they'll have it open anyway. I've never heard of a situation in my life where they've left a curtain closed, but if they have, for whatever reason, please just kindly ask them to open it because you will need that light. Another thing that we say is to have all lights on in the property. So that is ceiling lights, desk lights, lamps on side tables, anything, any light that you can use is always a good thing. 2 reasons for the light being on the property. One is it looks more professional, so it just generally looks a lot nicer. You can test it out yourself. You can have lights, you know, maybe try your own property in your own time, turn lights on, turn lights off, see what the difference is, what you feel about it. Generally with the lights off, it provides a much more artsy look, which can be quite nice, but we're not going for artsy, we're going for professional. So all lights on in the property. The second reason why we require all lights on in the property is because we're only using one source of light, and that external light, which is the Flash. So you need as much light as possible, you need as much natural light as possible, and you need as much, even, you know, a lamp in the corner will do wonders for lighting up that corner. So use it as much as you can, and yeah, all lights on in the property. Now we're going to get into a bit of camera settings, which we will have another session on at some point, but and a lot of you have heard this over and over and over again, but the ISO, we say max 400. I recommend actually fixing it at 400 and only adjusting it lower down to 200 if you absolutely need to. Most of the time you won't need to unless it's a really sunny day or something. So yeah, ISO 200 to 400 is actually a requirement for our network. And that will really help you in terms of lighting. Some people are not comfortable with 400 for some reason. They want to go to 100. Absolutely not necessary. 400 is great. So if you boost it, if you are sort of used to leaving it at 100, please don't be afraid to boost it to 400. It's really going to help you with your light. So next point is aperture. The f-stop this is a requirement. It needs to be between f7 and f11. A lot of people will try to play around with their f-stop. Please don't. It needs to be within this range. Any lower, any higher is not is not good. And for those of you who don't know, the larger the F number is, then the less light that you're getting through. So it's a little hole that sort of allows light to come in. And when you go lower with the f-stop, what happens is you'll start to blur some things in the foregrounds and blur some objects, which we do not want. We need the full image clear, so you cannot go lower than f7.1. And yeah, and just be aware of that range. If you are sticking in that range, it is really, really going to help you in terms of lighting. So the next thing is adjusting the shutter speed. So this is one of the reasons why tripod is required, because when you have a tripod, you have you have much more range to play with your ISO. So a lot of people, I used to shoot weddings and I would fix my ISO at 800, but obviously we're not using a tripod for weddings for running around and taking those shots. So the ISO needed to be higher. In property, you will need to get as much light as you can, obviously, as we mentioned before, with natural light. So a tripod is crucial with this because you'll be able to lower your shutter speed, which is just, will do wonders for you in terms of light. However, having said that, we can never recommend a shutter speed because it completely depends on the room, and you do need to be aware of blown out windows or even overexposed windows especially, but even other objects can start to bleed in terms of light when the shutter speed is too low. So adjust the shutter speed. The lower you have it, you'll tend to get more light, but you really need to be aware of not overexposing certain areas. And also, going back to the shutter speed, it's going to affect your flash use as well. So you can't go too low, otherwise the flash it won't make sense for the flash. The next thing is the exposure. You need to adjust the exposure manually. Obviously, every DSLR has a light metering inside, so you just need to use that. You can have the camera set to aperture priority. That way you're just adjusting the exposure. The next point is to go room per room, and even more so than that, go shot per shot. So a lot of people will sort of have a setting and they'll just use that throughout the property. We see that a lot more than we would like to see that. Unfortunately, photography and lighting doesn't work that way. You need to be adjusting it room per room, and more so shot per shot. So even in the same room, if you're taking it at a different angle, whether you're looking at the window or again, if your back is against the window, is going to make a huge difference in terms of your settings. So don't just think that you can have one setting and that's going to be great for all the lighting in the property. You need to basically just keep in mind that you're going to have to change it almost every single time. Really, this should be a given, but I want to reiterate this. If you could take away one thing today, it's this. Look at the photo once you've taken it in your viewfinder. Look at the lighting, see if there's things that are underexposed, overexposed, and then adjust your settings and take the image again. Cool, so hopefully that all made sense. Here, I just have an example here of quite an underexposed room. And then here we have an overexposed room. You can see the windows blown out. You can see details are missing in the, cupboard area, and it just doesn't look very nice. And then here we have a really nice, properly exposed room. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're looking for and what it should look like. So again, just to summarize this really quickly, we use flash, not HDR. Utilize as much light as possible, have all the lights on in the property. The ISO should be between 200 and 400. Aperture needs to be between f7.1 and f11. Adjust the shutter speed according to where you are, but if it is lower, then beware of blown out windows or anything else that's overexposed in the property. Adjust your exposure manually, so you can have it on aperture priority. If you don't want to have it on fully manual, that's fine, but just make sure that you're adjusting the exposure every single time manually on the camera. Go room per room and shot per shot, so change it or adjust the settings according to your exact image. And then once the photo is taken, just have a look at it and make your own assessment. Cool, so now I will open up to any questions. Give me a second here. Hello, hi. Right, so I'm just going to go through the questions here. We have quite a few of you on today, so if I don't get to answer your questions, then please come to the next workshop and hopefully I can answer them. Okay. So first one, would you recommend the use of a tungsten filter if you have one on flash to balance out natural and incandescent light? Yes, sure, you can use filters if you want to. It's not a requirement for us. So if something is too tungsten, then the post-production team will generally fix that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's not a requirement, but yes, you can use filters if you want. If it's a very dark, overcast day, should we reschedule to avoid view out of the window being bad? No, definitely not reschedule. Avoid reschedules at all costs. So, we want to be getting these appointments in and getting them uploaded as quickly as possible. The view outside the window will overcast days are amazing. They're perfect. A lot of people think that sunny days are good. For photographers, sunny days are a nightmare. So overcast days are perfect and beautiful. So yeah. What kind of flash gun do you recommend? Good question. Any flash gun. Any flash gun that is compatible to your camera. They range from I think 25 pounds to 600 pounds. So any flash gun. Okay, people often have furniture in the corner of their rooms. How should we best position the camera to maximize the view and the lighting? So this is more so for our sort of composition workshop, but I'll touch on this a little bit in terms of the light. So obviously furniture and bulky items are, maybe they're going to be difficult to avoid sometimes, but what we say compositionally is to always stand in the furthest corner of the rooms. So obviously in a general square room, you're going to have 4 corners, and we require 2 to 3 angles of that room. So stand in any corner that you can and look to the opposite corner, if that makes sense, so that you're getting the full view. And then if you have something that's in the way, then just compositionally, move a little bit or just angle the camera a little bit so that you crop that off. Really good question. What if the vendor has not left lights on? Can we turn lights on and off ourselves despite avoiding touching anything in the property? Yeah, really good question. So we, during the visit, we obviously, due to the current circumstances, you to wear PPE, and part of that is gloves as well. So if you're wearing gloves, then it's absolutely fine to turn the lights on, but always please ask the vendor first. If they're there, just say, have you turned all the lights on? If they say no, then just ask them to do that. Hi, should we worry about clashing color temperature with the indoor lighting? I'm not quite sure what you mean by clashing color temperature. I would say always adjust your white balance. If you are looking at the image and the color temperature is off, then just adjust your white balance and retake the image. Okay, is this done on AV or manual settings? So again, you can use full manual if you want, but aperture priority is absolutely fine as well. Okay, let's see. Will you adjust the white balance so several shots of the same room have the same color of walls, etc.? Yes, so the most difficult you're going to find for those situations is if a room is painted yellow or painted blue or a really solid color. Your white balance is really going to struggle the most with that. So yeah, definitely adjust. In the ideal exposure room shot, there is no detail in the windows. Is this correct? Maybe there are blinds. Yes, that is correct. The view outside the window was completely just sky. So yeah, that's correct. But yes, normally we want to see all the details outside the window. Oh, another question on that, yeah. What kind of lens size? So Mike, we only accept for full frame cameras 16mm, and for crop frame cameras it's 10mm. Where should you direct your flash to? Really great question. Hopefully you can make it to our next flash workshop. The flash should always be pointed behind you at a 45-degree angle behind you, to the corner, to the furthest corner, or directly behind you. The maximum it should be pointed forward is, it should never be pointed straight forward, but the maximum would be straight up towards the ceiling. Do we need a full frame camera? No, you don't. You can use full frame or crop frame. Do you want the raw files or JPEG? JPEG. Our portal does not accept any raw files. It only accepts JPEG. So we actually recommend that you shoot in JPEG just to save you time. Otherwise, you're going to need to convert it at the end of the day, and there's no point. Okay. Okay, as natural light is a primary source, you expose for the windows, then non-dimmable lights will burn out. Will this be adjusted in post-production? So no, if you're talking about the ceiling lights and the lamps being blown out, they shouldn't be. So usually when that does happen, it's just a matter of flash control. So you need to adjust your flash. For the most part, it means that perhaps you need to, always expose for the windows. That's what we say. And then add the flash. So you need to really look at your settings and see what's going on. Perhaps the shutter speed is too slow, so you could increase that. maybe depending on what sort of day it is, but maybe even the ISO is too high, or sorry, too low, you know, which will cause for things to be blown out. So yeah, you just need to really adjust your flash control on that, I would say. How many pictures per room do you usually take? Really good question. So we require a minimum of 2 to 3 angles per room. So a minimum of 2 per room. But especially, you know, obviously you're the professional photographer, so you're going to see maybe it's a beautiful master bedroom, take 3. If it's, you know, a selling point, kitchens and living rooms are always the main selling point of houses, minimum of 3. So 2 to 3 is what we say. What is the preference for closet doors, open or closed? Really good question. Closed. So all the doors in the property should generally be closed. How many speedlights do you recommend to use? Just one. Just one that attaches to your camera. How long does it usually take to take pictures for one property? Really good question. So our average is 1 hour for the full site visit. Obviously it depends on the property and how many rooms there are, but an average of 1 hour. That includes the 360 tour. How do we catch up on last week's videos? So I've posted the YouTube link in the published comments there. You should see the YouTube link. What we're doing with that YouTube link is it's sort of a work in progress at the moment because we've kind of just started these virtual workshops. So we'll be posting sort of Q&As separately, and all of our content will be updated every 48 hours basically on that YouTube channel. Do we need a 16mm lens, or would 24 be okay? So it depends if you have a full frame or crop frame camera. We definitely could not accept 24 in any circumstance at all. It's just not wide enough. So 16mm for full frame and 10mm for crop frame. Can we take multiple shots of the same angle so we can hold the flash in the shot to get the wider view and light appropriately? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but basically you only need one shot. You need one good shot of that from that angle, and then you need to move on. So once you have that, even delete the bad shots on your camera, because what's going to happen is you're going to go home and you're going to have 5 shots of the same angle, and then it's just going to be more costly to do that. So look at that shot when you're in the property, make sure that's the one that is perfect and that's the one that you want. There's no need to take multiple shots of the same angle. And you shouldn't be holding the flash. It should be attached to your camera. Ooh, really good question. We've gotten this quite a lot. A lot of flash questions today, which is fine because obviously flash is very relevant to light, but we do have a whole separate thing on flash just because it's such a major thing for what we're doing. So how to use a flash cone in a bathroom with a lot of mirrors. So bathrooms are notoriously difficult just for the size and also for the reflections. So the best answer I can give is honestly just really be creative with your composition. Move to the right, move to the left, move forward, move backwards, and just try not to get those reflections in. Do you bracket your exposures? So Mike, obviously you probably missed the presentation, but no, we do not bracket or use HDR. Okay, last question. do we have to use a flash gun with its own small diffuser? Or is it better to use a softbox in order to have a very soft light? No softboxes, so it's going to take way too long to set that up. We just need you to use a flash gun attached to your camera. Obviously, if you can sort of play around with it where it's not a requirement at all, but there are diffusers and filters and that kind of thing for your flash gun. So you are welcome. You're more than welcome to use that. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to share this with you again. Right, so I just wanted to show you guys the schedule for the rest of the month. So this is the next workshops that we're doing, and they're all at 10 a.m. So yeah, we spoke a lot about Flash today, so I would encourage you to come to our next one, which is on Monday at 10 a.m. on Flash. But yeah, feel free to write this down or take a photo of it. You'll be sent the links from our recruitment team beforehand. So hopefully you've already gotten the ones for next week. But yeah. Okay. And just lastly, thank you guys so much for joining me today. These virtual workshops, hopefully they have helped you. Again, the YouTube link that I've posted in the comments, please do, save that and check that out regularly. If you do miss a workshop, then we are posting our new workshops and the Q&As and things on there. So yeah, please do check that out. Yeah, so again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your morning, guys. Have a good day. Bye.